allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, let's see, we've got minutes up for approval. I'll ask for motions, please.
Can I add one thing?
Oh, yes, of course.
We have, and we just got this afternoon, UPK edition, Megan Cabral's son, Paulo Cabral. There was a slot for him, so,
That's great.
yeah.
Awesome.
So we'll add it to the minutes, but we just learned of this as we were on our way over, basically.
Okay, and that goes in the consensus agenda?
Yep, and there's,
Okay.
yes, and there's one other, we had a bus driver who was, we had a bus driver that was going to be a sub. Patrick Johnson, but they're gonna be a full-time driver for us, so we're just making that adjustment as well.
Got it, thank you. All right, so minutes for approval, I didn't get motions, I don't think. Jenny, Beth, questions or comments? All in favor? That passes unanimously, thank you. And warrants, Jenny and or Beth? Jenny first, Beth second. Questions or comments? All in favor? That passes unanimously, thank you. Anything else?
Yeah, two quick things. One is a great bit of gratitude to our facilities teams and everybody who worked tirelessly this summer to get us ready for opening day. If you haven't had a chance, I know Jeannie stopped by today and saw the special programs office.
Mhm.
It is beautiful. Our facilities crew really renovated it was 2 classrooms, you wouldn't know it. They are just two fantastic, it's just one fantastic office now. And if you recall what it was like up until this point, it just never felt like it was an office at all. It was choppy. There wasn't great soundproofing, and there's some confidential conversations and meetings that happen in the Office of Special Programs. Get it when you get a chance to check it out. The staff in there they're beside themselves about what it's like now, and one of them even said, she did a little twirl and said, I feel like Cinderella. Don't hurry yourself, stop spinning. But they really love the space. And then the CACC, you might not want to check it out today or tomorrow because you might not think it's ever going to be ready in time. But it will be, one way or another, it'll be ready, and it looks fantastic. They've gone from 4 classrooms to now 6. They've gone from 2 student bathrooms to now 3. One of them will have a shower for any of our students that might need that. So really just, both of these spaces were Mike McLean's vision, and he has such a knack for looking at a space and then designing it in a really functional way. So, but not only that, just everything from all of our facilities teams, cleaning things out, our administrators, our counselors, our nurses, all the work they do to prepare for what's coming next week and all of our students coming back to campus takes a lot of work. It's been a busy summer. We thank all of them for that work. And then the other thing I'll mention, we're working on a communication right now to send to families. I'm hoping to send it Wednesday, really specific to the traffic issues we're anticipating this school year. With North Road undergoing renovation and being shut down, that's going to inevitably put more people on Chapel Street by the middle school, which is already incredibly congested, or they're going the long way around Sand Hill. And then there's a couple of the roundabouts in like Hopewell area, I think 4 and 46, that are going under some renovation, won't be accessible. It's going to create challenging issues for our buses. And so in the communication, I'm just asking that families and students get right away to the buses, let them get out of our lots when they're ready to exit. Most people are great about it anyway. They stop and let them go, but it's really a priority this year so that they can drop off the secondary students and then go to pick up the primary and elementary in a timely fashion. It's really challenging as it is, and this year it's going to be even more challenging. Coordinated with the city police, they're going to put extra police officers up there for a couple weeks to help provide that standard, let the buses go. But in the letter, I'm going to just mention a few other things. Families, consider riding the bus and not driving your student to school if you can. Carpool, partner up with other people in your neighborhood or friends or family, and reduce the number of drivers that are going up that way. And then I'm also mentioning, while I know it's the safest thing to drop them off at the door, either by you as a family or the bus, we're very fortunate to have a couple other options as long as people are safe. Families could drop their high school student off at Northeast Park and let them walk from there. The sidewalks is crosswalk. Families could drop their children off at Sonnenberg Park and have them walk from there. Again, we have a crossing guard right there, it's all sidewalks. I'm kind of discreetly saying, you could also drop them off at Fort Hill Ave, and they can walk the sidewalk right up there. It's a sidewalk that goes right through our property to the front door, or CA Stadium is another option to drop Academy students off. We're trying to do everything we can to minimize the congestion that we're going to experience for over a year. It's going to be problematic. And I think what we're waiting on right now is Deb and Caroline, we're working on aerial views with maps just to kind of point out the various things I'm referencing, so they know what, North Road is, or Chapel Street, or Fort Hill, or these different parks to park at. So that'll go out, just kind of warning of potential really tricky traffic patterns. That also means the first few weeks of school, the primary elementary school hardly ever dismisses on time. They're young students, and to train them on where to go and to do it takes time, and so our teachers are usually way beyond contractual hours the first week or two of school. We anticipate this could last longer than that. It could be just kind of the standard, so we'll have to problem solve if that is the case, but I want families to understand that we're going to have dismissal issues, arrival issues, and congestion that's really beyond anybody's control. It's work that's necessary. Are there any questions about that?
Is this requiring us to reroute a number of buses?
Yes, because normally 20 to 30 buses is what Seth told us. When they leave the academy, they go North Road. So that's rerouting 20 to 30 buses. In Hopewell, I think he said there was 3 to 5 buses that will have to be rerouted because of those roundabouts. It's just gonna add time and congestion to already congested areas. I am asking in the letter too, to maybe at the middle school, if you're dropping off a student, to not use the lollipop loop at all. Because we already know we're gonna have a lot more on Chapel Street. So, we'll see. And we talked about using the faculty parking lot at the academy to have families drop off students. But if you allow that now, it'll be almost impossible to stop when it's not necessary anymore. So we're trying to avoid that if possible. So we'll play it by ear. We're happy to have the police willing to help us out with this for a few weeks. That's all I have.
Okay, thank you.
Good afternoon. It's hard to believe we're not standing here talking about summer and starting the school year already, but we are. So I'm here to give you an update about some of our administrative activities and planning leading up to the start of the school year. With changes in our team, it's always a good opportunity with any new members to kind of talk about our norms and ground ourselves in some of our working agreements. So I wanted to present some of those to you. What we're also trying to do with these norms, and I certainly won't read them to you, but try to model some of the things that we're expecting teachers also to do when they're working with smaller teams, or even as perhaps an entire faculty in a building. So these are some of the things that we've committed to as administrative team members, certainly when we're working with one another, but as we are working in a range of spaces and places with staff, we're hoping to do much the same. So these things are typically going to be either communicated out as part of agendas when we send out that information, but the hope is that we're having common dialogue and conversations that really mimic much of these norms as we've outlined them. Please work. There we go. So at the heart of our work every summer is a process we started post-COVID, which was to really ask feedback from staff about what are some of the areas that they feel like we collectively should be working toward, and we seek their feedback each year. We then take that feedback in June, and then try to utilize that pretty strategically for either focus area or goal development, particularly in conjunction with our district strategic plan, but also the building school improvement plans. And so we tried to divide that time up a little bit differently this year to try to, still continue to really use that feedback to help hone in on what the focus areas are for our school improvement plans for each of the buildings. But also with changes in the Office of Instruction, it was a good opportunity for us to take a look at how can we use that information to develop our own instructional focus areas, of which we've really narrowed the scope and focus of those things to try to ensure that there's a greater level of alignment between what the buildings are doing and how the Office of Instruction can support them. As you're also aware, the Office of Special Programs has had a range of new membership, and so it was a good opportunity for them to actually, I think, with our first meeting around mid-July, it was the first opportunity that that new team actually had a chance to sit and work together. So those 2 days in July that we had was really critically important for them. And then we also asked the same of food service, transportation, maintenance, buildings and grounds, for them to also take some of that feedback under consideration, but work on development of goals and focus areas for themselves for the upcoming year. Hey, look at this, Portrait of a Graduate. There was actually an update. I came to you in the spring of last year, around February. The state gave us some information, and we were waiting and waiting and waiting. We finally received some information. So the graphic changed. So from February 2025, when they initially presented out what a portrait of a New York State high school graduate is going to entail, they shifted from visual on the left to your visual on the right. Some notable changes, first of them being moving from 7 areas down to 6, but also looking at the center of what the anchor of a portrait of a graduate is New York State's culturally responsive sustaining education framework. And so when we think about cultural responsiveness when it relates to teaching and learning, one of the best ways to summarize it is, for our learners, is do they have a greater awareness of themselves and the world around them as they're engaging in being these things: academically prepared, a creative innovator, a critical thinker, an effective communicator, a global citizen, a reflective and future-focused learner. So think about that globally, but that's really what's at the heart of the new portrait, or at least the updated graphic associated with the portrait, which did come with some additional details. So really trying to define what a New York State high school graduate is going to leave us having experienced, with the culturally responsive sustaining education framework at the heart of it, thinking about those 6 competencies that make up the remainder of the portrait, and the extent to which our graduates are leaving us equipped to do these things. So what remains to be seen are all the details, like how are we going to measure it? Are we using rubrics? Are students getting scores for the extent to which that they're leaving us with these things? Are we going to be expected in our curriculum maps to identify the spaces and places where we anticipate our graduates are going to encounter these things? So very much an overarching and global view as to what that's going to entail. So it was good for us as an administrative team to review these new documents, think about what it means for each one of these areas. And again, there's a lot of words on the next slide. The state did define it a bit more explicitly about what each one of these things are. So again, being academically prepared, an effective communicator, creative innovator, global citizen, critical thinker, and reflective and future-focused learner. So all of these things, again, are going to make up what that portrait is. And we're going to continue to do some more learning around not only what it is, but what are the expectations as the state provides us updates with how they expect us to implement it. As you can imagine, with a team our size, we have any number of dynamics. And again, when there's changes to that team, whether it's new faces in new places or people who are new to the district in general, we spent some time talking about our own leadership dynamics, and we did so right in this room. Some of you may be familiar with the Compass Points activity, of which we fill out a questionnaire and essentially try to highlight for ourselves, based on sort of our own profile as leaders, where do we see ourselves falling? You might be true north, or you could be more of a southeasterly person, but either way, it's important to know that about one another, because it can really help us to understand how we're working with each other, what we might need, or how we might need to approach something. So taking that under consideration is something that was helpful for us, again, as we're learning possibly new members of our team and how they operate. We're also going to be engaging in a similar activity in this very room tomorrow with our teacher leaders. We feel like that this activity is good for not just ourselves, but for our teacher leaders as well, because they too are working with pretty dynamic teams. And learning this about those who they serve most closely. So Beth, preview for you tomorrow. This might be something that could be a tool for them to utilize to maybe hit the ground running for the start of the school year. So we wrapped up our first 2 days and then our final day in August with the development and share out of our SIP plans. we say this year after year where we feel like each year we progressively are becoming more and increasingly aligned with the information that's here. So it's one thing to streamline, it's one thing to have language that's aligned, that's really important. But when we got to this part of the day, we really had some informed and spirited discussion and an opportunity to give feedback like I don't think I've experienced this is year 10, with our team, myself in this role, where people across buildings were giving them feedback about language of goals, about what metric, or have you thought about this idea, or connecting the learning from our first 2 days in July. How could you use that to enhance the goal? And it didn't feel kind of territorial, it didn't feel critical, it felt collaborative, supportive, and people walked away with it feeling like, yeah, I really just got some positive feedback that I'm now going to apply to this before I share it out with my staff, typically the first week of September, next week when the staff returns. So that's the long and the short of a lot of our work over 2.5 days of summer. We built in some team building opportunities as well because it's good to spend some time on the personal and professional side of things. But I'd open up to any questions about the activities or the content shared today, if you have them.
So I'm probably supposing there isn't much, but any inkling from the state about where AI and education cross and what they're thinking about it? Okay, I'm just wondering.
Other than asking institutions, whether it's public higher ed, to have something to be able to, kind of think about how can you communicate expectations. We had something as early as last year that we used with our teachers at the academy, where we asked them to be pretty proactive with their communication about with certain assignments. Is this an assignment that absolutely you can use AI for? Are there constraints to it? Like there should be no AI used. What we have to do more learning around, and we did a little bit of this last year as well, is how can we, to the best of our ability, sort of AI-proof certain assignments? In other words, we might have to physically do things in class that really require higher levels of thinking that may not demand the use of technology at all. And so when we think about that portrait of a graduate, there are opportunities for us to give consideration to how are we designing assessments or learning experiences to account for that impact, because there truly are some creative things that students could be doing by using it as a tool. But we also have to continue to work with teachers and the students about how to use it effectively as a tool, not as a substitution or a replacement for thinking, but being thoughtful about how we can use it to enhance creativity or thinking in general, but not be so dependent upon it that it's not resulting in original kind of thought. It's probably the best update I can give you.
That's a great answer. It really is. The box of bricks that I sit at every day is wrestling with it, and I'm wrestling with it. And there really seems to be multiple schools of thought about what to do here. And it really comes down to a couple of buckets. One bucket is technical fluency. As I explain it to some of my faculty, I want somebody that's an accounting major to know how to use a spreadsheet, right? Build that spreadsheet, right? I'm not so sure I need somebody that, not that we have them at RIT, an English major to be able to use a spreadsheet. Okay? And the other one is, what do you think about that technical fluency? And we gotta be able to unplug brains from all of those tools that are floating out there to do that. And Jenny knows this because I've blinded her. I've been building a toolbox for higher ed faculty on how to do an assignment design to AI. You can't AI proof, but AI limit where you can. But it's challenging, and I really want to see where the state's going to end up on portrait of a graduate, because it's kind of like that same key piece 30 years ago. There's this thing called the internet, right? It's that kind of step change. And where I used to have to worry about my computer science majors hacking into our grading system is my biggest problem. Now it's about what are those computer science majors actually getting as their core education at RIT, and what is coming through an AI tool, and what are our engineers doing, and all that kind of stuff. So it's both pieces, how to use AI effectively and how to proof it, or wall it off where you need it. So.
Assessment versus using it as a tool.
Right, so are you assessing that kid's ability to hit a couple buttons in ChatGPT, or are you actually assessing their ability to do the assignments you've given them? So,
We're all in the same boat right now.
yeah, no, it's seriously, great answer.
Thank you. Other questions?
Thanks, Mel.
All right, thank you.
Alright, we have a capital outlay contract. I'll ask your motions, please. Jen and Jenny. Questions or comments? Roll call for everybody, please.
Mrs. Miller?
Yes.
Mr. Palomini?
Yes.
Dr. Schneider?
Yes.
Ms. Essenborough?
Yes.
Mrs. Thomas?
Yes.
Mrs. Brown?
Yes. And the proposed tax roll resolution, I'll ask your motions, please, Julianne and Jen. Questions or comments? Whenever you're ready, please, Deb.
Mrs. Miller?
Yes.
Mr. Palomini?
Yes.
Dr. Schneider?
Yes.
Ms. Essenborough?
Yes.
Mrs. Thomas?
Yes.
Mrs. Brown?
Yes. Thank you. And we have a consensus agenda with the noted changes from earlier, plus a supplemental. I'll ask your motions, please, Julianne, Jenny. Questions or comments? All in favor? That passes unanimously. Thank you. Anyone else?
No, you'll probably hear, a lot in the news going forward about the internet connected device law and the ban. We have policy, we've communicated with families. I was going to host a webinar, but in talking with the buildings, they felt like they had it well under control in terms of their communications, their protocols. So I didn't want to cloud anything, and I just kind of deferred to them. So it's going to be a change. We are currently receiving doctor's notes to allow exceptions. But any doctor's note we receive, I certainly run through our attorneys to make sure they meet the spirit of the law. From my interpretation right now, just so everybody's aware, if a student uses a device to monitor their health needs, like diabetes, for example, then that is an acceptable form if they have a doctor's note and there's a medical need. If it's for, they're anxious without their phone, that is not meeting the spirit of the law, and it even references that within the language of the law, that it can't be because they have anxiety without it, being separate from their device. There has to be a medical need, or they're caring for somebody who has serious medical needs, like an ailing parent, and they're the only person that can be called. That's in the law too. So, one of them ran through the attorneys today, and we approved. It made a lot of sense. The other one, I don't know that will get approved. We need to have our nurse engage in conversation with the doctor who wrote the note to gain a little more information. But, these are hard conversations, and they're very time-consuming conversations. So, I'm still not a fan of this law. I never have been. And I've been very outspoken about it, but I don't make the law, so we have to abide by it. So if you hear things, and you have questions, or you're not sure of the answer, just reach out to me. I'm not saying that I have the answer, but I'm close to having the answer to most of these situations. And if I don't, I'll certainly reach out and make sure I can, speak to it with clarity.
Yeah, there's lock boxes that they installed in all the rooms.
No, at the CACC, yes, there's lock boxes in all the room, that's how they wanted to operate. The lock boxes everywhere else are just in the office for kids who violate our policy and our protocol. So at the middle school and academy, the expectation is the kids put them in, their locker. At the primary and elementary school, and I don't know how this is gonna work, to be quite honest with you. If a kid brings a device, they're to report to the office and turn it in at the beginning of the day and get it at the end of the day. I don't know that we have enough lock boxes to do, we can order more.
Well, the elementary, it said that each classroom had to have its own lock box.
No. The main offices have the lock boxes at the primary elementary, and the students take them there and turn them in. But we're telling families, don't send your kid to school with them at the primary elementary age. But no, their protocol is the lock boxes are in the main office. Happy to order them, we got a shipment of them in, but that's not the route they wanted to go at those levels.
I was just thinking, because I know I read it a couple times. Primary was in the main office, elementary was in each individual classroom, had a lock box.
I'll have to go and look at it again. That was not what we prepared for, but if that's what they want.
No, that's what, our policy says that. Unless I have no policy.
it's gonna take me a minute. Actually, it's in the code, no, it's in the policy.
It's in the policy, we just show it.
Give me a minute.
Anticipation.
Give me a minute.
Just look at the policy website and then the rankings.
Yep. Yeah, I had it pulled up earlier when I was on the phone with our attorney about it. Okay. Oops, can't scroll on the PDF. Hold on. At the primary elementary school, kids are discouraged from bringing any devices to school. They must be silenced in a lockable cubby in the main office of primary school, and a cubby in the classroom at the elementary. You're right. This has changed so many times. All right, so
And all
I'll,
the teachers have been asking where their cubbies are going to be.
yeah, we'll order more.
Or just make it.
That's
the
what
main
goes on.
office.
Or just change the policy.
Change the policy.
Let's just change the policy.
Let me think about it, cause it doesn't have to be those lock boxes. If they have those hangable pouches that they put them in, I don't want the teachers taking any more liability. Because that's what it boils down to. If something gets broken, lost, or stolen, that's the last thing the teachers need to worry about. Thank you, John, for bringing that up, because that is not what we ordered. We ordered a lockbox for the main office at the primary and elementary school. Okay.
Just all that,
Thanks.
making your Monday.
Thanks. It's, to me, again, and I've said this to our lawmakers, this law, if I'm just speaking my truth, it's, this is an issue for families, for cell phone providers, for social media platforms, but you're making the schools a conduit for restriction, and to me, that just doesn't, it's not the right approach. You know, if you look at the misuse, the inappropriate texts, searches, posts, 90% of them are happening outside of the school day. 10% are happening during the school day, but that's what the law is. It just doesn't make any sense. It's just very, very frustrating, the amount of time and energy we're gonna have to put into something, that really, this isn't a school issue, this is these companies' issues and families' issues, but. Okay, I'll have to figure that out. Thank you for saying that, John.
Any other good news?
School's starting next week and it's gonna be awesome. It's gonna be awesome.
Yes.
So quickly Mike can build 40 boxes.
All right, if you have nothing